I warned you. I warned you to stay away. I warned you to stay away. I can't tell you what to do. Oh, I guess that's true. I ain't the boss of you, so. Reverse psychology. I was actually trying to warn you guys that I'm not in a high energy mood today, so this might end up being one of those that just kind of rambles and goes on about nothing. I don't know. I felt like trying to do one, but I know that I'm not really in the mood I'm usually in, you know, to do these. A little burnt. Yeah, man. I'd like to do these, at least every other day when I'm doing them. I take a break from them from time to time. Sometimes there's a good reason, and sometimes I just need to not deal with you fucking people. Can't blame me there. But yeah. Not really in a band type of mood, but I'm always in ready to do the bands if that's what needs to happen. I just. My brain, y'all, is a fucked up mess right now. It is just, I don't know, it's hard to explain to a person. So what was with C4C? I don't know. I think TJ's trying something. I don't know what he's doing over there. Wasn't me. It seems like a movie that TJ would review, and listening to it, it sounded like a TJ written review, but it was read in a robo voice. I don't know. I'll ask him on Monday what's up with that. What the plan is with that. Until then, I don't know. Sorry to hear about the news. Hope you guys are all right, all things considered. Oh yeah. I mean, it's not just all that stuff. It's just been stress lately, man. And to be quite frank with you guys, I've been pretty mentally ill for most of my life since I was a little kid, and I have these really, really bad panic attacks, and had one of those today, and those are like death. I don't know if you've ever had one, but I'm sore from head to toe. It's like every muscle in your body just locks, and your brain is just swimming with all kinds of nonsensical bullshit. You can't make heads or tails. I'm a weeper when I'm having panic attacks, which sucks because it's embarrassing for me. On top of that, I've never been a guy that was, I do cry, but I typically do it in person. But I get these lockdown panic episodes, I guess, and it's horrible. Leaves you feeling pretty fucking drained, and I haven't had one like I had today in quite some while, but they happen, and they're usually exacerbated by other stressors, other crap. Is it like a seizure? It feels like one. My breath just becomes ragged and rapid. Every muscle in my body is just tense. My jaw clenches, and pretty horrible. Hyperventilating, yeah. Mine as well. Yep. Do you feel any type of relief after having those breakdowns? No, I mean, kinda. I mean, I feel relief when they finally finish. But and then I usually just feel guilty or ashamed or whatever. You know, I don't like being out of control of myself. That's just something I don't like to play with. But it happens, you know. Yeah, numb. I guess numb would be a good way to put it. You should feel ashamed for it, yeah. Well, it is a vicious cycle. Oh, I shouldn't, okay. Have you done fentanyl? That might help? No. No thanks. While I was enlisted, I was asked to watch over a guy in basic that had really bad panic attacks. It seemed rough. 12 years later, I still talk to the guy every once in a while. Good kid, yeah. It happens. I mean, I've had them since I was a little kid, and they've gotten worse and worse over the years. Like, the intensity of them, I know, is just progressive, and that's just part of the illness, I think. I think as time goes on, it just worsens. Your brain gets less adept at dealing with that properly, and oh yeah, I can't think at all when I'm having a panic attack. It's just like thoughts in my head, just blah 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 blah, you know. If I've got somebody there with me to talk to, it must sound like nonsense. I had my first panic attack a week or two ago. I tried mushrooms for the first time, got awful sleep, had to go to school, still tripping, and an energy drink. Do you believe in meditation? I mean, is that even something that requires belief? It's an existent practice. You ever had a panic attack on camera? I've come close a few times doing shows, but I'm always able to kind of tamp it down and redirect that energy. The most helpful thing for me has always been conversating and performing. So that's typically what I do. I'm able to kind of like focus, but you know, if I ever got to the point where I was going to have a full-blown panic attack, I would just have to walk away, and you know, I definitely wouldn't want that on screen. Panic attacks get progressively worse over the years. Mine have all but stopped over the... I mean, I'm not saying all of them do. I'm just saying that when you have a major panic disorder that is untreated, it doesn't tend to get better on its own. I don't expect it to. I don't know, the stream is like a little slice of normalcy in an otherwise abnormal life for me right now, you know, so that's kind of why I do them. Yeah, I know there's no solution. I mean, no direct solution. I could go back and get into therapy again. I could get some prescription drugs. I know benzos have helped me in the past. A little bit, at least, to stave off the worst of these. But I just don't like taking pills. I don't like taking pills. I don't like therapy. Just had bad experiences with it. Bad experiences. PTSD is a part of my panic disorder. Meditation aims to allow one to just be without the rushing onslaught of thoughts. Oh man, I've meditated before. I do it semi-regularly, at least in little bursts. I don't know that I've ever felt like it. I don't know if I've ever felt like it. I don't know. Truly helped. If you feel one coming on, lift some weights. It sounds dumb, but it helped me. Oh man. Yeah, this time I just wasn't in a place where lifting weights was a possibility. Did you get a cat? No, I think it's somebody else's cat mewing. CBD helps me with anxiety. Can't say it helps. I don't know. My buddy in AIT, it's like job training after basic training in the Army. He gets night terrors, and it's something you never expect from him because he's a pretty lax guy. Yeah, I mean, people have crazy shit. You can't just look at a person sometimes and know all the shit that's going on with them. Why did you say you're bisexual in DFF? Is it true or are you joking? Lol. Is it gonna be that way forever for me? Like, fuck, man. How many times do I gotta say it? I wouldn't joke about stuff like that. Like, I wouldn't pretend to be something I'm not for months on months and months on end. Like, sorry. Planning any vacations? Yeah. At the end of this month, I'm gonna go back to Cali, see my family for a week. So, it's not a traditional vacation, but it's definitely allow me to get away a little bit. My dad developed an awful fear of heights after leaving the Army. Makes me think of what they did to him. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, what a pointless joke it would be. Like, really, it would be attention-seeking behavior if I was lying about it. You're too interesting to not watch. Bad title. Reverse psychology, my friend. There's a few people that, I think there's at least 2 people that live in Madeira that I know. Or not that I know from online. People will hit me up and be like, hey, I was over at this business. Some dude tweeted me the other day and said he was at the Madeira drive-in. I was like, maybe we can hook up. Smoke a doob. I'm watching this, Paul. You can't stop me. All right. Hey, Paul, can you say fart for us? Fart. There you go. Paul, what if the truth is that your panic attacks are the cause of someone who's trying to wake you up and get you out of the matrix? So I hope they'd go on and wake me up. Hope they'd go on and succeed. What's the longest fart you've made? I don't know. I didn't time it. I mean, I busted a long one here and there. Having a good day. Not really, but I'm okay. I'm surviving, Bastrop. I'd love to do like an RV trip thing. I think it would be fun, but you got to understand a lot goes into that. And when you're talking about an RV trip, the way that I would want to do it would be like a tour, right? So we would rent like a big old bus, basically live on it for 2 weeks, hire a driver and a tour manager and a booking agent, all 3 of which are pretty expensive, and book dates that we can make a big, 2-week loop for. It'd be work, man. We'd be doing a show a night probably. But I'd really enjoy that, I think. It was Bastrop, Louisiana, but I'm sure it's just as bad in Texas. I'm sure. How much sleep are you getting lately? I'm having trouble in that department myself. Not a lot. A couple hours here and there, That'll level out, I'm sure. I get the feeling it'll probably level out today. I'll probably just go and crash for like 12 fucking hours. I just really haven't been sleeping. Haven't been eating well. So I think all of that, coupled with just the stressors in my life right now, led to the kind of big panic attack thing that I had today. And what that means, I got to take care of myself enough so I can function. See ya, Convo Paul. Have a good one. I can't sleep more than 6 hours. I mean, I usually won't sleep for more than 6 hours, but when I'm real exhausted, I can just disappear. Watch the last stream, Rip Posty. Yeah, it sucks. It really sucks. I was pretty attached to that little dude. He was like a little zen thing for me. It was Ashley's idea to get a hamster. She'd had them before, and she really loves them. And I was a little trepidatious at first, but she talked to me about how low maintenance they are in terms of like being they're solitary animals. You build them a nice big enclosure and you keep it clean for them. You keep food in there, but it's not super expensive to do, and they're not they're not super needy pets in terms of your time. So I was like, okay, let's get one little guy, and we got Posty, and man, I was fascinated with him as soon as I saw him. And I get these it's real hard for me to wind down at night, and I had this for a long time. I'd stopped doing it in the last few months, but for a long time I had this like routine where I would just sit at night and watch him go about his business in his cage and run on that wheel. There was something very like calming and soothing about that, and that gave me just a big affinity for that little guy. It's a majestic nose. Just a giant nose. Yeah, I've had sleep paralysis for sure. Just a giant fucking nose, man. What do you want me to do with it? I can't do nothing. Well, I guess I could do something about it. I could go get a nose job. Thanks, Marshall. Same to you. Hope your move is all finished. Could I please a woman with that nose? I've never tried, but I probably could. I bet I could. The nose makes the man, huh? I had an ex that called my nose distinguished. I was like, okay. I don't even really know what that means. Move to the mountains with you? Ugh, that sounds horrible. Maybe with somebody else, but not you. You's a troll. Are you attracted to Scotty or TJ? No. If you ever saw videos of people training their rats to do things like them getting tissue when they sneeze, oh man, that's what I need. I've wanted to train Dynor to bring me stuff. Like put a little strap on my phone so he can like grab that and bring it to me. I'd be like, hey, go get my phone. Have him go get it. Train him to get beers and stuff for me. I don't even really drink beers, but I think I would if I had a trained dog that would bring me them. Figure out which chair to get for Dynor. No, I haven't decided yet. I want to get him something that's comfy for him so he can sit up there right next to me. Because I know it, doesn't bother him, but he always picks like right next to me to just kind of lay there. I always think he looks sad. Like him to have his own little chair. His own little dinosaur chair. Have you considered an aesthetic change to help you get through what? To get through this time, like trimming your beard short or dyeing your hair green? I actually have considered trimming the beard back. It's time, honestly. Like, it's good and long. The hardest part is I wouldn't trim up here at all, the mustache and shit, but just trimming around the edges and bringing it back a little bit, you know, to something like this. I'm actually thinking about handling that up. Something about this length, maybe. I don't know. I don't know that I'd want to go much shorter than this, but sepia makes you creepier. Oh, I see. I see. Oh yeah, my new vape is my new aesthetic. You know what I mean? This is the new me. Why did TJ get that lesbian haircut? Why are you asking me, man? You think I know the inner mind of TJ? Go ask him, man. I think it looks pretty good on him, though, honestly. I don't think it looks bad. At first, I thought it looked kind of funny. But he didn't have the whole thing shaved at first. He kind of just did, like, the side right here. And I thought, I don't know. But now that he's kind of like shaved it a little higher up his head over here, it looks pretty good. Yeah, he did get the Skrillex. I could play a whimsical wizard in a film about magic and wonder. Oh, oh, cool. That sounds fun. You admitted TJ looks good? Because I think it does. I think the haircut looks good on him. What am I supposed to do? Want me to lie and say it looks stupid? I think it looks pretty good on him. He pulls it off, you know? It's not something that I would have pictured. And if he told me he was going to do it before he did it, I probably would have tried to talk him out of it. But now that he's got it, it looks pretty cool. You can be straight and says someone looks good even if they're male utards. Would I encourage TJ to get a facial tattoo? I don't encourage people to do shit. What is this, man? You guys got a weird fucking... You got weird ideas about friendship, man. You don't encourage your friends to go get tattoos and shit. You don't encourage your friends to get haircuts. Maybe you do. You know, I just don't... That's not my thing, you know? I don't care what you do. It's hair, you know? And if you want to get a big fucking tattoo on your face, more power to you. I might make fun of you for it. Of an oval face. What's that? Like this shape here? I've never really understood. Or are you talking about like this? I never really understood the oval face thing. But don't most people have oval faces? I don't give a fuck. If TJ wants to go get facial tattoos, I ain't gonna be the dude to stand in his way. It ain't my face. Tattoo it all up. Tattoo it all up. I don't care. Get the inside of your eyelids tattooed. Cornrow, Paul. Yeah, I could go get some cornrows probably now. My hair might almost be long enough for that. Maybe that's what I need. A fresh start. Some fresh cornrows. By the way, those of you that are probably bored by this, I warned you in the title. It really wasn't fucking clickbait. I'm not in a great mood today. I'm not feeling very energetic today, so this is just gonna be kind of a low energy talking. Thank you for unbanning me the other day. Hey, no problem. I actually stopped being friends with someone over them getting a facial tattoo. He complained he got stuck in a poultry as a job after getting said tattoo. I informed him that it may be related to said tattoo. Yeah. Yeah, dude, Liberty spikes. That'd be pretty sick. I've definitely got long enough hair to do a bitchin' mohawk, dude. I could have a crazy mohawk. Old school style. Yeah. I love asparagus. What tattoo would you get? Well, I've got one. I've got an idea for 2 tattoos that I want to get. But what kind of things are you going to do to try and combat your depression? I don't know. I'm gonna try and once everything gets settled around here and I'm back in a normal swing of things, whatever that means, I'm gonna try and start hitting the gym once or twice a week. Not really trying to, break the bank on that shit, but just, once or twice a week, go over there for half an hour or 45 minutes or an hour and just do some treadmill or recombinant bike or something. Just get my heart rate up, get myself sweating. Maybe do some very, very light weightlifting and shit while I'm there. I know the last time I was really trying to work out regularly that I felt better as a result of it, not just physically but mentally too. I'm gonna try and start taking Dynor on a little 1 mile walk every day. We've got this kind of really big apartment complex here, and I think that if I walk all the way around the edge, I could probably do a step tracker, so I'll do that this next time I do it. But I'm pretty sure if I take him all the way around the grassy edge of this place that it's about a mile, if we make the full circuit. So I think I'm gonna start doing that with Dynor every day that I can. You know what I mean? Some days it's just dumping ass, so you're not gonna walk your dog, but I'd like to do that once a day with him. Get him out, you know what I mean, and get me out in the sun and shit, or at least in the open air. When I get really overwhelmed with stuff and I tend to kind of go into like incubation mode or whatever, where I just want to sit in the house and not do or go anywhere. In fact, I'll be honest with you guys, I've been in that place for about 6 months, where I'm just so fucked up that I don't want to leave. It's probably slightly agoraphobic, honestly. There are times where it's like, I want to go out, and then I just think like, oh, think about all the things that could happen when I go out. Could get in a car accident. You could go somewhere and have a horrible meal. You could, your car could break down. You could run into somebody who's mean and, get in a fight. You could, all these stupid, things that usually don't happen when you go out, go running through your head, and you convince yourself to not go out. I definitely get out of my house more often than I would imagine a truly agoraphobic person does. But I could see myself getting worse. I know I've gotten worse. I would leave the house for work and that was it. It's gotten better since May-ish, but now it's up and down. Yeah. I mean, I'm the same fucking way. you know, and I really, you know, no overwhelmingly outstanding reason for me to be that way the last 6 months. My mental health has not been great, you know, and I'm kind of at a loss for what to do about it, other than the few little things that I just mentioned to you guys, trying to get out more, trying to exercise more, maybe picking up a hobby or something. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know if there's really an answer to that. I mean, the work is definitely helpful to me. Yeah, I've tried 5-HTP before. I took it as a supplement for about a year and a half, probably back in 2015, 2014, something like that. I didn't really find it helped balance me all that much. Melatonin helps when I can't sleep. So there's that. I'll be right back. Oh, whoa. You guys chill. You gonna come out here for a sec? Go back in. I know you're gonna want to go back in. All right, you stay out here for a minute. I'm just gonna end up letting you right back in. Like always. Gotta get some incense going out here. This helps calm me down, chill me out, max me out, you know. There we go. Set that right down there. It smells good. You'd like to see the return of the man bun? Okay. Here you go. I don't really know how to give myself ponytails and buns and shit, so you'll have to deal with the best I can do. Try and gather up all this crap hair. God, there's so much back here too. And I've lost some up here. You see what a nightmare this is? The man bun. Yeah. I think one time somebody gave me one that was kind of like up top, and I kind of liked that one. I liked the top knot. Making with the band. I don't even have a band. I was just trying to gather it up. Get a pink mohawk or shave half your head and beard. Which would you rather do? The mohawk. Dumbass would you rathers. Dumbass, whack ass would you rathers. Ready to go back in already? Figured you would be. Told you so. Or would you rather banned now too? They have been for some time. Like, I don't mind a contextual would you rather, or a, you know, once in a while would you rather, but the constant would you rathers, Goddamned indecisive dinosaur. Will limericks ever return? No, not here. I don't even like limericks anymore. I legit hate them now. I used to enjoy them, but I legitimately hate limericks now, so no. There may be a certain marine mammal which also suffers from agoraphobia. Oh, that's quite the situation. Did you end up seeing Godzilla? No, no, I did not. What was the last movie I went and saw? Avengers, I guess. Yeah. I went and saw Avengers Endgame, and then I went and saw the Pokemon movie before that. TJ blocking me on Twitter has sent me into a deep depression. How deep, dude? Whatever happened to Counterpointless? It just got shelved. It's not something that I think we're gonna walk away from, but just got shelved. It wasn't all that popular as a piece of content. You know, we felt like it was really good. You know, we felt like it was really interesting, but the channel didn't feel that way. So, you know, there are some times that you gotta eat things like that as a content creator. You know what I mean? You try something out. It's really gratifying to you to do it. You think it's funny and interesting, but that doesn't mean your audience is going to. Thoughts on Avengers Endgame? I mean, I'd rather go read my Letterboxd review. I've got a Letterboxd account. It's Paul's Ego. I did a full write-up on Avengers Endgame, and I do a write-up on every movie I watch over there. That's my goal for this year, is that when I sit down to watch a movie, even if I write a paragraph or two about it, I'm going to write something about the movie. I'm going to put my thoughts about the movie there on the Letterboxd. As kind of like, honestly, as kind of practice in finding my critical voice, finding the things about movies that I really like to talk about, because one of my criticisms of myself in the earlier days of Cinema for Cynics is I've watched a lot of movies, but I've never spent a whole lot of time genuinely critiquing movies. At least not in a way that I want to be, you know, consistent. I want to kind of find my own voice and find the things that are important to me about movies, distill those things down, and make a more focused review. Rather than just, you know, kind of a recap review, which you know, it's hard to do that for some films, but I'm really trying to figure out ways to talk about the movie without really talking about the movie. You know what I mean? In terms of like principal plot points and stuff. And it's not really about spoilers. It's about trying to hone the critical voice. Please don't use a robot voice though. I don't plan on it. You know, if I do content on Cinema for Cynics. I don't plan on doing robo voice content. I don't know. I'll have to talk to TJ about it and see what his thought process is there, because I'm not sure. Saw a news piece on autonomous trucks getting fully legalized in Florida. How long till Florida truckers engage the machines with violence? What? Autonomous trucks getting fully legalized in Florida. I mean, it's coming. I don't know if it'll happen in Florida over this one little angle, but you better believe it's coming. Like when it becomes widespread nationally for driverless trucks to transport goods across state lines and shit, it's pretty over. Pretty much over. Yeah, there's going to be riots. There will be, I guess you would say domestic terrorist acts against the trucks. Certainly vandalism and destruction of property. It's just, you need to understand the Teamsters Union to understand why I have such a surefire opinion here that there's going to be violence. The Teamsters Union was born in violence and made its bones with violence for most of its existence, and still does when it needs to. It's been a long time, I think, since the Teamsters have had to assemble and have a dust up, you know what I mean? But the early days of the Teamsters Union were marked by, union thugs and company thugs, and the company thugs would show up unannounced and try and bust up the union thugs protest outside of the factory, where they tried to keep scabs from coming in. Scabs are what union people call workers that will come in on a day rate and work a job that is typically a union job for no benefits and for less pay. It's really kind of a sad thing, because these scabs, as they're called, are really just desperate people looking to make money. You know what I mean? They're out there looking for a job, and they, read some article in the newspaper about hiring thing, and they show up at this glass plant not knowing what's going on. And when they show up, there's 50 people blocking the road, calling them a scab. You know what I mean? It's definitely not pretty on either side, but that's why I know that the Teamsters are going to fuck some shit up. When this driverless car shit happens, they will fight it tooth and nail every fucking step of the way. When they finally lose, there will be blood. Are scabs illegal in the USA? Absolutely not. No, scabs are how companies deal with union walkouts, usually. It's the most common practice. See, because when you have to think like a corporate person, right? So the bottom line is what matters most. So if you're running, like my parents, for example, worked at a glass wine bottle and beer bottle factory, right? You've got orders. You've got orders from companies all over the country, all over the world for your bottles. And how those bottles are made doesn't really matter to you at the end of the day. See, that's the reason there's a need for a union. Because to the company, you're just a cog in the machine. You're just a part of the production line. And if you die or break your leg, there's going to be somebody else. They'll just plop somebody else right over there. So unions formed as a way to allow people that work these jobs the right to collectively bargain for benefits and for their wages, and to bargain for safety measures. And so when that happens, when a company and a union can't come to terms on a contract, then typically what happens is a strike. Well, a strike from the perspective of a union member is a positive action, a positive disobedient action, in order to try and inflict pain on the company by showing them what happens when their workers walk out and their factory slows down and they start losing money. The company, on the other hand, obviously doesn't want to lose that money, So they immediately start hiring people from the community, people that didn't work there before. Now, a lot of people, and I know I wouldn't cross a fucking union line. So if I was looking for work, found a factory job, and looked into it and found out that that factory was currently embroiled in a strike, I'm not crossing that fucking line. I have respect for that line because that line, for me, means a job, which is important. But for everybody else that works there, it means their kids, their family, their health care, their lives, their pensions, their retirement. Some of these people have been there 40 fucking years investing in this. I don't cross lines. But I was raised a union kid, so. Well, people are too complacent to protest politically in a lot of ways, but unions will still get fired up. Illegal immigrants don't care about those lines, Paul. No, you're absolutely right. And some people don't. I mean, it's not just illegal immigrants. It's just people in general. Most people don't even understand the scav line. They don't even understand it. They don't understand that if there's people protesting out front and you've got a job in there, you shouldn't drive your car in there and help them keep making money because they fucked over their workers. They haven't taken care of their workers, and you're allowing a company that doesn't take care of its workers to continue to cash checks while those workers are out there fighting for their lives. I'm a UAW member, and I've seen someone collapse on the line due to heat stroke. They dragged him to the side, called medical to pick him up, and kept it moving. He died. Corporations don't give a fuck about you. No, you're right. You are absolutely correct. And that is really a fundamental principle of organized labor. I fear we're spiraling towards disaster, automation, climate change, wealth inequality, and instability. It's going to end up a bloodbath. You know, you're right about that. I mean, there's really no arguing that, I don't think. You know, past behavior is the best predictor of future behavior, and you know, humanity has always been a bloodbath. It's always been a horrible melee of people fighting for what they feel is theirs, for what they feel their rights are, for what they feel they're due. And that's just going to get worse. I mean, wow, I made a tweet to a guy with an role play account as God, and he made a tweet calling Trump a piece of shit. And I said, even God just confirmed it. A few short of 100 likes. Damn. Well, there you go. There you go. 100 likes. Your life is complete. Whoa. What can you trade those 100 likes for? Everything will be fine in our modern societies until the fresh water runs out. Well, I mean, I think it's more likely that food shortages and massive inflation happen before fresh water running out. And that's really what I think is going to set it off. When the grocery stores aren't open 7 days a week, when the selection is slim, and people are lining up to try and get the goods, that's when the violence will break out. Clean water is another one, and it'll definitely be a problem. But I think it's going to be the food first. And food shortages are coming, even to the first world. Get ready for them. How soon will this occur? I don't know. I don't have a timetable for you, but if you wanted me to take a stab at it, I'd say by 2050, it's going to be pretty hard to walk into a grocery store and get what you need. I may be wrong about that, but climate scientists seem to believe that that's the case. Arable land is going to be drying up due to the increasing temperature. Coastal areas that are used for farm fishing are going to be completely inundated. Not to mention the fact that as the ocean warms and acidifies, it kills off the fish, and overfishing has killed off the fish. Something like 97% of large ocean fish are gone already. I'd say, around about 2050, 2060, you're going to have a hard time walking into a grocery store. unless something fundamentally changes over the course of that, you know, 2 or 3 decades. Yeah, get a hold of what's his name? Jim Baker. Pastor Jim Baker's got some bonus buckets for you. And hey, when the bucket's empty, don't throw it away, because you never know what you're gonna do with the doo-doo. There really is no way to save the planet completely. Eventually, we'll have to consider other options. If we were going to consider other options, it was about 20, 30 years ago that we should have started really working in earnest. And when I say working in earnest, I mean the $1 trillion plus that has been sunk into foreign military excursions, mostly in the Arabic world. If that money had been uniformly planted towards a space program and the attempt for us to maybe get a workable living solution on Mars and start working on terraforming Mars and stuff like that, hey, maybe we would be a good solid step towards that right now. But nobody's done a fucking thing. Not in that way. Not when it comes to like, hey, what are we going to do when this planet doesn't support us anymore? Yeah, there's been a lot of progress over the last 40 years that I've been alive, but most of that progress has been a transfer of wealth from the bottom and middle class of America to the top, to the very top. And that's only really progress if you're one of those people. We should move to the moon. You first. You first. I don't want to live on a fucking moon. People aren't even in denial. Your average Joe doesn't even know. Doesn't even know. And that's the truth. Even in the first world, even with how inundated we are with constant red flag warnings from every climate scientist on the planet, your average Joe Blow doesn't have a fucking clue how screwed we are. Doesn't have even an inkling. If they did, they probably wouldn't be reproducing. Because I'm telling you, if you're having a kid right now, by the time they're my age, they're gonna be living in a hellhole. You better make them into fucking little soldiers or something, little survivalists. Teach them how to live off the land if you're having a kid right now. Because if you're having a fucking child right now, that child is gonna see some shit. I'm talking major shit by the time they're my age, by the time they're a middle-aged adult. The moon would be a horrible place to live. It has no atmosphere, so there's nothing stopping. I mean, just look at the moon. You see all the big pock marks on the moon? It's because the moon has no atmosphere to burn up these chunks of space rock that come flying at it. So anything that you built on the moon would likely be pelted with a fucking football-sized space rock, you know, doing 25,000 miles an hour. That's not good. Yeah, the moon ain't a livable place. Most kids' survival skills is pressing a button on their phone for food to travel them. Oh, they need to learn some other shit. You got kids right now? You got little kids right now? Man, if I was a parent, I'd be trying to learn myself how to live off the fucking land in a way. I'd be teaching that kid how to make a garden. Be teaching that kid how to shoot a gun. Defend themselves. Live literally with nothing out in the wilderness. We'd be doing that shit. Because otherwise, you're just creating a poor little puppet to suffer. Starve, get beaten to death, get robbed, get killed. Scientists theorize that if they sent moss and roaches for the moss to consume in 500 years, Mars would be slightly viable, according to terraformers. Yeah, but then it would be a roach-infested hellhole. Planet Roach. Oh yeah, we terraformed the planet by throwing moss and roaches on it. And now the roaches literally cover every fucking inch of the planet. It's a mossy, roachy hellhole. You ready to go, guys? Let's do it. No thanks. No thanks, bro. Pass on that one, personally. You grind them roaches down into biofuel. Biofuel? How about roach milk? You step off the shuttle onto Mars for the first time, and there's a beautiful woman with 3 boobs standing there, and she hands you a tall, frosty glass of roach milk and says, "Welcome to fucking Mars." And then she's interrupted at the end of that sentence by a giant roach crawling across, and she steps on it. That's Mars. Sounds good. Roach planet, yeah, man. Why aren't you at TJ's getting ready for DFF? We pre-recorded tonight's DFF because Scotty is out of town. He had to go out of town for the day. So we recorded tonight's patron-only DFF on Wednesday. So you guys will get it tonight. Pre-recorded scam. I mean, all of our shows are pre-recorded, so it's all one big scam. How much longer until we're at war with Iran? It seems like it's heading that way. All of this shit, all these blurry pictures of what are supposed to be mines being taken off of a ship and shit. I've seen it all. I was looking at it this morning when I got up. And I'm just like, man, this just rings the Iraq bell so hard. They've got this down to a science, man. When they decide they want to invade a country, they know how to false flag it up. They know how to blow things out of proportion. They know how to, and the media just runs with it too. Oh my God, the news media has so much blood on its hands in this fucking country. So many soldiers, families shouldn't be mad at the government. They shouldn't be mad at the command structure. They shouldn't be mad at the enemy. They should be mad at the media, because the media in this country is really what makes war a possibility. And they just cover it and cover it and cover it. And it's expert after expert looking at blurry pictures and talking about how Iran's about to launch a massive offensive, or it's the same shit. If you turn on the news right now and they're running a big Iran story, the type of hawkishness that you hear out of these people, the warmongering that you hear out of these people, is straight out of the playbook, man. The same type of shit got heaped on us in 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, during the lead up to the, Iraq invasion, and all the way during the Afghanistan invasion. So much blood on the hands of the media in this country. You're right, Tucker. And they're just doing it again. You go on CNN right now, it's all war. Look at this. Here's a blurry photo of what we think might be an Iranian planting a mine. Let's go to war. It's like, speaking of survival, deer, moose, and elk are no longer viable game to hunt in the States. Look up chronic wasting disease or zombie deer disease. Might make a scary DFF topic. Is that like hoof and mouth disease? I think I remember reading about that. Isn't it the same thing? It's like, it's mad cow, right? Or that's a strain of that. Because I've heard mad cow called the wasting disease. So I'm thinking that it's that. And yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of the wild game isn't safe to eat anymore. I have to learn to live off of frogs and shit. This is part of why I don't watch TV. Yeah, I don't watch TV either. I check out the news on the interwebs. But I was watching TV last week. I'm not gonna lie. I was chilling in a hotel room for about a week and a half, and they've got the cable there, and I was like, man, this is like going back in time here. I'm just gonna see what it's like to watch TV. So late at night I'd turn it on, shuffle through the, like, I don't know, 80 channels they had. And I was wishing I could get some data out of it, because as I was channel surfing, I'd stop on a channel, and it's well over 50% that there's a commercial playing, assuming it's not like HBO or something. But even on HBO, if you flip through to the HBO, there's oftentimes not a movie on, but an advertisement for some HBO show or some movie thing that they're doing. Dude, I don't know how people do it. The fact that there are people still out there watching TV like that, it just boggles my fucking mind. And then a movie would come on, and I'd be like, okay, yeah, I'll sit down and watch a movie on TNT. Why not? It's bleeped, so, like, I can't hear cuss words. Action scenes are cut away from if they're too violent, and pretty much every 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the film, I get 5 or 10 minutes worth of commercials. It's absurd. I just don't know how they're doing it, man. And that was like life for the longest time. You didn't have a choice, and when you didn't, I remember hating commercials back when TV was a thing, but I don't remember hating them as much. And I'll be quite frank with you, I don't remember them being as obtrusive. I don't remember there being as many of them. I think that as these channels like TNN, TNT, CNBC, as all these little channels lose revenue because the whole medium is dying, they're just trying to pack more and more commercial content in, because they got to make that bottom line. They can't just take one big ad buy anymore. They got to take 20. If commercialism is an art, then it has gone downhill over the last few decades. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I think they've gotten way better. They've had to. They're at selling people shit. They're doing it different ways now. See, the way that they get this generation is, and this is something that they've used in the past. It was very popular in the 80s. Not so much in the 90s, but you'd still see it. The celebrity endorsement is super popular right now. So you get one of these pop stars that's super popular right now, Sia or whatever, you know what I mean? You get her to drink Coke, and young people go, yeah, they might not immediately think like Coke, but it creates an association in their mind with this person that they like and respect and this product. That's an art. I'm sorry. Like, it might not be the best art in the world, you know what I mean? It might not be the most laudable art that you could make, but to say it's not an art form, it definitely is. I feel like I pimp these on every Highdeology, but if you're interested in this topic, look at the documentaries of Adam Curtis. Particularly in this topic, you want to look at the Century of the Self, which is all about Edward Bernays, who was a nephew of Sigmund Freud, who used Sigmund Freud's psychosexual theory of the brain to sell people things. He learned that not only was Freud looking into a way of unlocking people's past pain and helping them through it, but he'd also stumbled upon a way to be very, very suggestive to people. People that are confronted with their own mental insecurities and their own life insecurities are incredibly malleable. And so, Bernays figured that out. He figured out the celebrity endorsement. He figured out how to use the celebrity endorsement on other celebrities to make them look better, to make them more viable as marketing candidates. He's almost wholly responsible for the fact that women smoke cigarettes. For the longest time in America, smoking cigarettes was seen as a purely masculine endeavor, and a woman smoking a cigarette was a very rare thing to see. Edward Bernays decided that, he didn't decide, the tobacco companies came to Edward Bernays and said, hey, we'd like to expand our customer base by about 50%. Right now, men are smoking. They're smoking more and more. They're smoking earlier and earlier. We like that. We want that. But for some reason, we just cannot crack into the female market with these cigarettes. What do we do? So Edward Bernays, in his brilliance, staged a big parade in New York, ostensibly under the banner of women's rights, women's equality. He had a bunch of hot girls dress up like Lady Liberty, you know what I mean, the statue, walk down the street, and then when they got a big crowd around them and the media was all there, these women all kind of simultaneously reached into a pocket and pulled out a cigarette, lit it up, and called it their torch of freedom. And that's all it took. All of a sudden, it was cool for women to smoke. And the tobacco industries, yeah, they called them liberty torches or torches of freedom. Yeah, you know. And after that little stunt, which I'm sure they paid a handsome fee to Edward Bernays for that help that he gave them. After that, 5, 10, 15 years later, women are smoking just about as much as men are. We got a whole new fucking group of people to give cancer to. Isn't it great? I always go on my dealer. He was listening to you. It was his first time watching. I didn't notice for 20 minutes. Oh, that's funny. That's cool. That's cool, man. After the last DFF, please ensure TJ never takes his shirt off again. I can't. I'm not TJ's keeper, man. I'm not TJ's shirt watcher. You guys will see those muscle rolls anytime he wants to show them to you. If you take that one little anecdote, though, Edward Bernays finding a way to tap into something else, in this case, the idea of women's lib, and use it to sell a product to people. You can imagine, I mean, this happened back in like the 40s, okay, or the 30s maybe even. And things have changed. They've gotten better. It's not like they've taken this principle that Edward Bernays found about associating a product with an emotion and just not learned anything about it. They've gotten better at it. They've gotten much better at it. And it really is. It's overt psychological manipulation. There's no other way to put it. It is totally legal for companies, corporations, government entities to psychologically manipulate this populace, to play on normal human instinct and normal human frailty and turn it into a big cash cow for them. Yeah, freedom fries, I mean, like, they'll do anything. They'll put anything. They'll put anybody's face on anything if they think it'll make you buy it. But really what they're interested in is trying to get you to form a relationship with that product. Whether it is a relationship that makes you feel good that you buy that product, or whether it's a subconscious relationship with that product and some goofy cartoon character that you saw in a commercial, or whether it is the manipulative tool of like showing people in the commercial that are your age, you know, the age group they're shooting after, having a great time drinking beer, you know what I mean? And maybe you're at a low point in your life and you see that and you think, oh yeah, man, maybe that's what I need to do. I'll just go get some Heinekens and have a party. Well, what happened right there was Heineken just made a bunch of money because you're not the only one that did it. You see what I'm saying? You know, advertisement is necessary in a capitalist society, but I don't think it's necessarily, I don't think it necessarily needs to be psychologically manipulated. Rainbow products during Pride Month, Black History products during Black History Month. I mean, what do you think all these, you heard the term Hallmark holiday? This is another brilliant marketing scheme. The Hallmark holiday. The holiday that doesn't really exist. Like Valentine's Day, or St. Patty's Day, or what's some of the other ones? I'm sure you guys can come up with some of these other ones. You know what I mean? Just it's the day you've got to go buy things. And they call them Hallmark holidays because Hallmark is a big maker of greeting cards. So it's the day that you got to go pay Hallmark their due. This is all planned. It wasn't like we were all looking for a bunch of holidays. It's just these little holidays that people used to like back in the day. I imagine St. Valentine's Day was something that people observed on their own. You know what I mean? You might bring your wife a rose, or you might take her out to dinner or something. Now it's a whole thing. You got the whole flower arrangements and the singing telegrams and the skywriting bullshit and 80,000 different restaurants all with a Valentine's Day special. If you don't know what if you think Valentine's Day is about telling a loved one that you love them, you're sorely mistaken. It is about lining the pockets of a bunch of different corporations who are all real hungry for that money. Real hungry. The founder of Mother's Day hated marketing and wanted it to be a special ad-free holiday. How bad she must feel. Yeah. Well, she's probably dead now, so she doesn't feel anything, but yeah, I'm sure she'd roll in her grave if she could. I mean, Christmas is that way too. Even the major holidays. Somebody just said Christmas. Yeah. Christmas has become a retail holiday. So is Thanksgiving. Think about that. They took Thanksgiving, a day when people get together with their families and eat a meal and fellowship with one another, and they turned that whole weekend into it's shop-a-thon. Still fat from the turkey yesterday? Come on down to Walmart at 2 a.m. and you might have a slim chance of getting a $600 flat panel TV. Every fucking holiday. Come spend. Isn't it great to celebrate by spending? I know it's off topic. If humanity is going to implode soon, then we are living in the peak of human civilization. Pretty cool. No. No, that doesn't necessarily mean we're living in the peak of human civilization. The downslope started a long time ago. So the true peak of human civilization probably happened, 40, 50 years ago. No, we're on the downslope. You guys are looking at the downslope. We've already crested the top of the roller coaster and we're heading this way. Even if we advance technologically, we peaked 200 years ago. Here's the thing. I'm gonna say something that'll blow your mind. We as a species, and when I say we as a species, I mean psychologically, physically, mentally, we are about 100 years behind our own technology. I'll say that again. We are 100 years behind our own technology in terms of dealing with it in a healthy way and using it as a resource and not a replacement for things in our lives. Most of the populace is wholly unprepared to live in this society. And there are pitfalls everywhere you look. Distractions, time sinks, addictive behaviors that you're encouraged to engage in, mass consumerism, mass spending. All of these things are linked. Mass depression, yeah. We're 100 years behind our own technology, psychologically speaking, especially. We do not know how human beings deal with this new kind of post-drudgery society that's emerging. And there's nobody trying. There are very few people even talking about it. You know what I mean? We're not doing well as a species. We're fat, we're angsty, we're mentally ill. We, by and large, hate our jobs. Many of us are unhappy in our lives. The index for happiness in this country is abysmal. If everything's so great, why is that? I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Hey, Paul, if self-driving cars were implemented, a lot of trucking and taxi jobs would be outsourced. Thoughts on what could be done? Nothing. Nothing will be done. Taxi drivers right now, if I was a taxi driver right now and looking at like wanting to drive taxi for another 20 years and retire, I'd be shitting my pants and looking for another job. I guarantee they know. Already taxi drivers are beleaguered. Things like Uber and Lyft have come along and completely almost replaced a taxi. So in most metropolitan areas, you're not going to call a taxi. You're going to pull your phone out and get an Uber. Cheaper, quicker. You know, what's not to like? That's a dead job. Taxi driver, dead job. Truck driver, dead job. Manual laborer at a factory, dead job. Fast food worker, dead job. Those jobs are going bye-bye. Jobs are going vamonos. I don't know. I haven't really read a whole lot about the bombardment of like Wi-Fi signals and stuff on the human brain. The last time I remember looking into it, what I did find was that a lot of scientists think it's a little hooey. Most of the scientists that I remember reading about, because I remember this was kind of a big issue at the dawn of the wireless age, when everybody started getting a wireless, hotspot in their house, and you know what I mean. The idea that living in a place like this, there's 1,000 of those, within a few feet of me. I don't know. I haven't seen any studies to say that there's some sort of negative or deleterious effect on the brain. I remember that too. When cell phones first came out, there was this like panic for people because they were like, you're holding it right up against your head and people are going to get tumors and blah, 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 blah. And that never really came to pass. So I'd be willing to bet that this Wi-Fi hysteria is probably just that. But even if there is something negative about the Wi-Fi signals zipping around above our heads and through our heads and through us, I think we got bigger fish to fry right now, You know what I mean? Whoa. We got ourselves some... Oh, a little spider bro. Hey, buddy. He's crawling on the phone. Did you come for a visit? Wish I could show you guys the little spider bro. Maybe he'll come on my finger. Will you come on my finger, little spider bro? I don't want to hurt you. There he is. See him? Shit, he's crawling. Crawling so fast. Where you going, guy? Come here. Yeah, he just dropped he just dropped some silk. It's like parachute. Brown recluse. It was a tiny one if it was, and the wrong color. But it's a little jumper. It was a little jumping spider. Put him in my beer. He might be in there. I saw him drop some silk. I think he went off me, but he might still be crawling all over me. I don't know. He's a cute little dude, though. A barking spider, yeah. Not that kind of spider. I have to fry a small fish, though, because most of the big fish are dead. Yeah, that's true. I'm most terrified of resource wars. They're becoming ever more relevant. We call them proxy wars, but let's face it, it's a race for the most. Yeah. I mean, that's what it's about. When you look at if you want to look at something that'll blow your mind, and TJ posted something just in the Arabic world, but if you look at a global map of all of the military bases of America, you see the end game. I mean, it's immediately apparent to me when I look at it. They're literally preparing for the invasion of any country to take what they need. That's why they're there. And You know, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be horrifying. The resource wars. It's going to be horrifying. Starvation, disease, just mass murder. Well, you know, yeah, I don't know if you were here, Najosa, when we did, you know, a little philosophy, and we looked at Derek Jensen's philosophy. But Derek Jensen tells stories that were passed down by early settlers in America. Okay, and there was a group of settlers that settled near the Klamath River, and they would describe the Klamath River during spawning time as being so teeming with fish, like so utterly and completely teeming with fish, that horses were afraid to drink out of the lake or the river, that it was dangerous to take a boat into the river because there were so many of these fish stacked in there that they could capsize your canoe. That doesn't exist anywhere in America anymore. There's literally nowhere in America you can go see a salmon spawn like that. He talks about flocks of passenger pigeons. Once again, this is all from the writings of early settlers, early European settlers that came to this continent. He used to talk about flocks of passenger pigeons in the east that would literally blot out the sun for days. Not just a giant flock passing over and it takes an hour to go by or something. We're talking about 2 or 3 days worth of the sky being filled with passenger pigeons. That was here. That doesn't happen. Passenger pigeons are extinct, yes. That's what I'm talking about. The amount of biomass that we have degraded in this world, the amount of damage that we have done to the ecology of this planet is immeasurable. Immeasurable. The plains buffalo is another one that you know, you'll hear people talk about. Settlers wrote incredibly detailed accounts of seeing these herds of buffalo from the top of a ridge going down into a little valley that must have been millions strong. We're not talking about 1,000 strong herd of buffalo, which would be an impressive sight on its own. We're talking about millions of buffalo literally filling the valley. They're gone. They're gone. All but all of them gone. And it's not just here. Every ecosystem on Earth that humanity has a strong presence in has experienced the same phenomenon. Places that were once teeming with life are barren. This world is dying. I hate to be negative about it, but this world is dying. Oh well. Will we experience the resource war directly in the U.S.? Absolutely. It'll be U.S. Young men and women that are fighting in that war. And the idea that that resource war will never touch any part of the American mainland is silly. Yes, there will be attacks here. Well, you're right about that, Ilamal. The Earth is fine. You're right about that. You know, it'll cleanse itself of us and it'll go back to being what it was before. But when I say the world is dying, I mean our world, our place in it. (9/11) Part 2. We're talking about a war. There'll be a 9/11 every day. We're all tied to the train tracks watching the light get closer and people are upset you're being negative. I know. It is what it is, though. You're getting what you want. What makes you think I actually want all this negativity? You really think that about me? Like, you don't understand the whole bring on the nukes mentality? You don't understand it? You think I want this? You think I spend like hours and hours and hours, hundreds of hours of my life talking about this because I want it to happen? I don't. Would you say that because humans are probably strongly to blame for the planet's demise, it's a natural occurrence because humans are animals and we are natural beings? Sure. I mean, this isn't the. There was a time, I don't remember which extinction event this was. So maybe somebody can go look it up, or somebody will know. There was a time when there was I think it was like an algae that basically did the same thing that we're doing. It killed the world. It started in the oceans and got so widespread that it literally replaced, most of the fucking. It just sapped the oxygen out of the atmosphere and made the atmosphere toxic to most of the life that was existent at that time, other than it. Now, this was, I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. This was before, major, complex biological creatures existed, but there were other life forms on the planet, funguses and algae and probably some insects and stuff. They all died. It was actually giving right. That's right. Too much oxygen in the atmosphere. So it's almost like the inverse of what we're doing. We're pumping massive amounts of CO2 into our atmosphere, but a million years ago, it was algae pumping too much oxygen into the atmosphere and made it toxic for life. So we're certainly not the first species that's outstripped its ability to function on the planet. And we probably won't be the last. The way we've gone about it is different. We don't naturally, as a species, exude tons and tons of carbon dioxide. But the things that we've made do. But I don't see a whole lot of difference. The late Ordovician mass extinction. Thank you. If that's indeed correct. What will become the new apex predator after us? I don't know. Dude. There's a chance that this type of thing scours so much life from this planet that it may start from a very, very basic place again. And who knows what kind of selective pressures are going to be on whatever remains behind in this new environment. There's no way. There's no way to tell. I have heard scientists say that roaches and insects, especially the hardier classes of insects, being a possibility for surviving this kind of coming collapse. And, if that's the case, if they're the most complex piece of life on the planet left when we're done, then there's a good chance that they will develop, into even more complex forms. I have a theory that the two major political parties may be in line for a switch in ideology, much like in the early 1900s, due to the far left becoming authoritarian in many aspects. I don't know. I see them getting closer and closer together, honestly. When it comes to substantive policy, there's not much difference between a Democrat and a Republican behind closed doors when it comes to casting votes, sponsoring legislation. I look at a lot of the social issues that get kicked around as, not to diminish the import of these things, but things like gay marriage, abortion. These are wedge issues meant to keep us divided amongst ourselves while the parties get ever and ever more homogenous, ever and ever closer to one another, and ever closer to the goal of just like absolute total domination over the electoral process. I mean, we have had so much of our power stripped from us that I don't even really think our right to vote in this country is even a power anymore. You know what I mean? I don't think that you're actually accomplishing anything by shuffling down to the polls and checking off the box next to the guy you want to see. Maybe there was a time in this country where that was an important endeavor for Americans to engage in, but that shit's done. Done. Do you know, like, I've seen people with kids that are picky eaters offer them two things that they normally wouldn't want to eat in order to give them the illusion of having a choice. And it sometimes will work with a kid. If a kid really doesn't want to eat Brussels sprouts and really doesn't want to eat carrots and you give them both, you say, hey, you can take your pick. Brussels sprouts or carrots. The kid, you know, it's a psychological principle that oftentimes a child will go, carrots. Okay, at least I have a choice in the matter, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 even though they're eating something they hate. The same thing's been done to us. When I say us, I mean Americans. We've been convinced that the prepackaged two choices that we're given are our power. But really, mom was in the kitchen and cooked those fucking two pieces of vegetable, right? You didn't have any choice in that. And you certainly don't have any choice with what hits your plate. It's gonna be a Brussels sprout or it's gonna be a carrot. That's not choice. That's the illusion of choice. I don't know what to tell you, man. No, we don't. Free will doesn't exist. We live in a deterministic universe. Free will is a joke. Free will is a lie that people tell themselves to feel like they've got a little modicum of control in their lives. But in fact, they have none. Such an unrelenting picky eater that my mom taught me to cook the moment I was tall enough to reach the stovetop. Good for you. I mean, you have a limited ability to process change in your life, and so a limited ability to exercise some sort of power over your own life. But once again, those options that are there and the direction that that you would choose to go were not determined by you. They were determined by things that were completely out of your control. Your psychology when you were growing up, the area of the world that you grew up, all things that you had absolutely no choice in, fundamentally made you into the person that you are, so that when you're sitting going, oh, do I quit my job or do I not quit my job? You have this feeling like, oh man, I'm empowered. I can do this or I can do this, and I've got that choice. But the whole reason you're working that job has nothing to do with you. You ended up in that job due to a series of circumstances that were almost completely out of your control. So out of your control that you couldn't even try to convince me that it was free will involved. There's no free will. You know, coming to understand that'll help you a lot too. If you're a person that struggles with that personally. Is suicide free will? No. That person is suicidal likely due to facts that were completely and utterly out of their control. In fact, take likely out of that equation. That person had nothing to do with their brain chemistry being the way it is. That person had nothing to do with being born with a mental illness. That person had nothing to do with being born in a geographic area that fed that mental illness. Absolutely not. You can pretend that there's free will, and it's actually probably advisable for you to look at your life as something that you have a limited amount of control over. But if you want to argue the philosophy of it, you have no control. You are where you are because you are. My problem with the idea that no free will exists is that everything is already determined and none have a choice when we have absolutely no meaning in life, and I cannot cope with that currently. Well, that's fine. You don't have to cope with it. Just know it's the truth. Just know it's the truth, man. And like I said, you don't have to act like, well, nothing matters, so I guess I'll just fucking... That's the biggest counter argument I get to the idea of a deterministic universe. Well, if you got no control over anything, then why do anything? Why not just sit in your room? That was going to happen anyway, right? You know, it's a silly way of looking at things. Nobody is making the argument that because we live in a deterministic universe that people should sit around and do nothing. You can live your life like you've got free will. You can exercise a certain amount of freedom of choice in your life while still realizing that you don't really have any choice. Tis what it is. Yeah, why not just shoot up a school, man? It's gonna happen anyway. It's just a stupid argument. The Stoics of old would argue that your attitude in the face of your limited choices shapes your own free will. Well, yeah, I mean, I would only disagree with them on the terminology of free will. It shapes your limited amount of control in your life, and it could very well shape your happiness, could very well shape the quality of your life. Absolutely, absolutely. Choices have consequences, and even though your choices aren't really something that you served up to yourself, you can make a wrong choice and a right choice. You can make a choice that leads you down a dark path in life. Yeah, don't come to school tomorrow, guys. You guys are all right. Yeah, you don't need to anymore. Why would free will matter anyway? Well, free will is used a lot politically as a weapon against people who have a hard time, financially, mentally, or whatever, right? So let me ask you what's easier. Looking at a person who has a drug problem, living homeless on the streets, and thinking of them like, well, they deserve what they got because they got free will and they chose this life of going down the fucking rabbit hole, and here they are. And, it sucks for them, but, free will. What's easier, doing that, being dismissive, or actually trying to find why that person is there? What are the confluence events of events in that person's life that led them to this moment where they're a wino in dirty clothes sitting on an off-ramp somewhere begging for change? I think you know the answer to that. It's much easier to look at a homeless person or a bum or somebody you don't understand and just go, what a fucking asshole. Free will. Chose to be that way. He made himself that way. It's his fault he's that way. Pretty simple, isn't it? Not so simple to go to that individual and go, what happened to you? Doubly not simple because oftentimes if you ask an individual that question, they won't know the answer. You could have made better choices. You can't beat a kid his whole childhood and expect it to grow up and make rational choices. Exactly. And that's an extreme example, but even smaller examples. Growing up with an alcoholic mother who wasn't abusive physically to you can have profound effects on the way that you look at the life and limit your choices. Small things in childhood create ripples in your life. And those things are things you have no control over. You have no control over your parents bringing you into this world. You have no control over who they were, what genetics they passed on to you. None of this is your choice. There never has been. Most annoying is when religious people say God gave you a choice to believe in him. God knows what you've done, are doing, will doing. It ain't no fucking choice. Yeah, I mean, that's really the people that have the hardest time defending the free will position are religious folk, because it makes absolutely no sense on the face of it, but it makes absolutely no sense when you wrap religion around it either. A religious person will tell you in the same conversation out of one side of your mouth that God knew you before you were formed in your mother's womb. Indeed, he knew everything that you would ever do before you were formed in your mother's womb. And yet, for some reason, you got a choice. What do you mean? God has just told you through his Bible that he is a puppet master that has created you to do a certain thing, that you have a destiny that is out in front of you, and that you have the free will to choose this or that, when he's omnipotent and omniscient. So he knew before you were formed in your mother's womb that he created you, that you were going to be 20 years old and get in a drunk driving accident that killed somebody. And yet you somehow had a choice in that. Is that not just nonsensical on the face of it? To me it is. But doesn't go over as well with religious folks. Given one factor about someone's life, you can extrapolate probabilities for what choices they'll make. Poor kids are more likely to drop out of school. You're talking about groups of people, not individuals. Individuals are much messier. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the level you have to take it to understand the fact that free will doesn't exist. You're trying to look at an entire group of people and say, well, people that have gone through this also tend to go through this. Correlation doesn't necessarily equal causation. You might be able to make some predictions about a person's life, but I'm finding when you sit down with a person one-on-one, when you examine a person one-on-one as an individual, it's messy. There's no easy explanation for why a serial killer is born, or why a rapist is born, or why a bank robber comes to be, or why a wife beater or an alcoholic or a drug addict. There's no easy answer for that. You want to find the easy answer for that because once again, the human brain really wants that. It wants to look at a complex thing and understand it. We have a natural curiosity about us. So that natural curiosity, in my opinion, is what led to religion in the first place. You know, we think about humanity living in a time before scientific instruments, before science was even a thing. Looking up at the sun and trying to extrapolate what it was. You know what I mean? For people like that don't understand natural processes, that don't even understand they're on a planet orbiting that giant sun in a solar system filled with planets. You know what I mean? They look up there and they see God. They see the Eye of Ra. They see Odin's beard or whatever it is they want to see. You know what I mean? Because it gives that human mind comfort to look at something that's crazy and inexplicable and go, that was God. Yeah, you're right. God painted the sky that way. The clouds are so beautiful out here today because God just got his paintbrush out and decided he wanted to make this beautiful display for everybody over here. At the end of the day, we know what those clouds are. We know why they're up there. We know the natural processes behind them. So the idea that God pulled a paintbrush out and painted them up there, pretty silly these days, even to hardcore Christians. But that's the human mind for you. The human mind does not like I don't know. Sure doesn't. Doesn't like I don't know. I like I don't know. I've come to enjoy I don't know. But well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and end this now. Thank you guys for listening to me ramble on narcissistically for how long? 103 minutes? Holy shit.